Welcome to Unbuckled Comics. If you're new, welcome. There's a liability form on the back table next to the crayons and pencils and all kinds of colored art stuff. I want to see if you guys are as good as an artist as the one that we have on this book today. If you are returning, thank you for your continued support. I am Unbuckled Cape, your host of this comic book review podcast, and today we are looking at one of my personal favorites, Spider-Man Blue. It is a comic that has my favorite comic book creator duo, Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale. I am looking forward to getting into this one. But before we head out on patrol, let's gather some intel first. Linktree, linktr.ee/unbuckled comics is where you can find all of the places to find me at other than, the current place that you are listening at. Um, it hosts the links for Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Look, Instagram's where you want to go. That's where I put everything. The other social medias, just links get pushed to those to bring you to my Instagram. So just do yourself a favor, skip Facebook, skip X, go to Instagram, follow me there, head over to YouTube, hit subscribe. There is a couple too. There's a short and a video of Mrs. Kate Guesses. Might actually be two of those over there now, but I got to. I still have to edit one. I do have one ready to go. I still need to edit it and get it out. I have until the case file episode mid September, so I got a couple of weeks yet to do that, and I'm looking to do so. Aside from that, no, you are not. Um, Nothing is wrong with your listening device or what have you. I did not do a cold intro like I normally do. Um, I'm just not feeling it today. This is going to be one of the shortest intros ever because I am just I don't know, not feeling it, and I got quite a bit of work I need to do yet, and it's Sunday night, so Monday's coming, and I'm bummed about it being Sunday night, and so just yeah, not really feeling the whole sitting here talking, but I've been doing this consistently for however long now, so I think I'm allowed one of these nights, right? I did, however, spend Friday night with the Read Watch Play guys. If you have not been over there, there's a podcast called Read Watch Play. They do adaptations. They talk about the book in the movie or TV show, or they talk about the video game and then what it was adapted into, or vice versa. And they just they cover all of like the backgrounds of both, and where the plot differs and things like that. I actually Friday night did an episode with them. We talked about one of my favorite movies, which is James Bond Casino Royale. So I will be sure to be letting everybody know when that pops out, but in the meantime, go over and check those guys out. So I am going to just give way here, and we're going to talk about Spider-Man Blue. And I promise I'm much more enthusiastic for the review than what I am sitting here right now. But let's get to the good stuff. Spider-Man Blue is a rather somber story with my favorite creative duo. Now, pay attention to how I say that duo, creative duo. Uh, Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale, when they are together, everything is just perfect that I've read. The Long Halloween, which is a review that we are going to be doing in October. Dark Victory is a Batman Robin story that I absolutely love. Daredevil Yellow is a review that we did in the early days of the show. He has also done Haunted Night, which is a Batman story that I really enjoy. And then he also I keep saying they also have Hulk Gray, Captain America White, and Catwoman When in Rome, which is a tie-in story to the Long Halloween. All three books, something that I very much plan on getting. Uh, the the issue number one of this, the whole story is very similar to the Daredevil Yellow story. Peter Parker is talking to Gwen, who has at this point already passed away. If you do not know how, look, everyone knows how, all right? And this is years down the road, like years. Peter is married to Mary Jane. They have been married for a while, and around Valentine's Day, Peter, he still mourns Gwen. So this whole story is him going through that grieving process, much like in Daredevil Yellow, Matt Murdock was still grieving for Karen, so he was writing her letters. The difference is in this one, uh, Peter is talking to a recorder rather than writing. Um, in this book, throughout the whole thing, when we are in the present time, everything is drawn with a blue hue, um, or color blue rather. It's a good way to remind you when we are in the present what the tone is, right? Because this is Tim Sale's art, and his art is it pops, it's colorful, and we're gonna get to that here in a little bit when we get to the more remembering in the past. And this whole thing is Peter recounting the day he met Gwen. He is going to go through how they fell in love, and this whole issue number one is going through the very day, the very moment where he noticed her. And it's a sad beginning that isn't immediately replaced by another emotion. The dialogue from the past is upbeat. So when we are looking at the normal colored Spider-Man, that dialogue is upbeat and normal Spider-Man. Uh, but when we are reading the blue narration of Peter talking into the recorder, there is a ton of, well, blue wrapped into it. At the end of this issue, we see Green Goblin um, battle. We see a Green Goblin battle, and Peter and Harry kind of become friends after Peter visits Norman Osborn in the hospital. Issue number two is a lighter issue with Pete giving that Spidey wit to everyone he comes across. And we also end up with this mysterious figure pulling strings, ending with one of the most famous and duplicated, um, as this is, character intros ever with a "Face it, Tiger, you just hit the jackpot." And actually, right up until this point of me reading it, I never really realized that the first lines that Mary Jane has is "You just hit the jackpot," and then her superhero moniker right now is Jackpot. I that went completely over my head. But at the end of issue two, we get the introduction of Mary Jane. And the rest of this is really going to be that typical Spider-Man balancing his feelings and his life, and this isn't really about Spider-Man. Issue number three, every time I pick up this book, this trade in general, it's like I see the Spidey suit for the first time. In issue number three, we get an incredible splash panel where the red is about as red as you could imagine, and the blue is about as blue as you can imagine, and it just pops off the page so much. And the dialogue here makes it easy to hear Christopher Daniel Barnes, who was the voice actor for the '90s animated series. It's typically when I read Spider Man, that's the voice I'm hearing anyway. But the dialogue lines up with it perfectly. And I don't know if I made notes on it, but there are a couple issues where he says about, I don't know who I forget what villain it is, but he says about, haven't you heard catches thieves just like flies? Like he references his theme song a couple of times, and it is a lot of fun. The balance between the mourning and the grief, and then the past kind of happy memories. I mean, Peter is still stressed and struggling. In issue number three, we see him struggle with balancing his feelings for Mary Jane and Gwen as he goes out with Mary Jane and kind of just shows up where Gwen is. And, there's like this whole love square between him and Harry Osborn and Gwen and Mary Jane. And funny enough, Flash Thompson is left on the outside. In issue number three, the present Peter, who is recording, struggles through this whole thing, showing you that there's still quite a bit of remorse for the battling feelings that he had back then. Keeping the cloud feeling of guilt and mourning overall, and overall, it's again, it's that whole balance of they give you this happy section, and then they make sure you don't forget that this is overall a pretty sad book. There's a lot of happy, a lot of fun, and action in this issue. We get to see Spidey take on the Lizard, so we've now seen him face Green Goblin and the Lizard so far in this trade, and you think like, oh, this should be an upbeat comic, and in parts you forget that it's not, rather, and then they pull you back into reality, and the tape recorder stops, and Spidey rewinds it, and he starts in again, and he stops and rewinds it, and he's not sure how to talk about his feelings, even to a Gwen that has passed away. Issue number 4, Peter focuses on Gwen, and he ends up moving in with Harry. We see Spidey battle a younger freed Vulture from prison. This book is more about Aunt May moving in with Anna, and the gang's dynamic. And by gang, I mean that Harry, Flash, Gwen, MJ, and Peter gang, the group that hangs out together. Both girls seem to like Peter, and Harry kinda, and like Flash is really falling out of favor, and it's really funny. Um, at the end of this, we see Spidey fall out of the sky due to his battle with the Vulture, making him miss his own housewarming party, and he has a blackout moment. Skipping to issue number 5, as Peter recovers from being quote unquote sick, aka getting his can kicked in, the girls kind of fight over who gets to take care of him, and it's a funny moment, not because of how Peter reacts initially. It's a funny moment because of Flash and Harry are like in the living space of the apartment playing pool, and Flash just does not get it. And it's really funny to see. So then, uh, as Spidey is sitting there with both girls in his bed, MJ feeding him soup, and Gwen is reading, I believe, Huck Finn to him. He actually asks the girls to leave because he sees the Vulture flying around outside, and he's grumpy and Razzle and Vulture thing, and uh, it's all really well written and funny. And again, you forget that this is a story of guilt, grief, and mourning. Um, as the Vulture swoops by the apartment, Flash sees it, or rather, he sees Spidey chasing after him, and then he doesn't move from that spot the rest of the night, and he ends up going out and to look for Spider-Man, and Spider-Man ends up saving the Flash, which is the thing that pushes Flash to join the army, and then he becomes Corporal Thompson, and down the line he ends up, that's kind of the stepping stone for him becoming Agent Venom. At the end of issue 5, our mysterious puppet master is revealed, and it's Craven the Hunter, which is why he's using the vultures, both of them, because we get the old vulture in this one, and then later, I believe Rhino, or is it Doc Ock? Oh, Lizard. I'm sorry, it was the vultures and the lizard. So, issue number 6. The end is another retelling of a classic Spidey tale. Craven kidnaps Harry, and Spidey rescues Harry. Sorry, I have a guest with me today if you can't hear him. I have no idea if you guys could hear that, but he is finding his voice right now, and apparently he thinks he can podcast as well. Sorry, that might have came out as dead air, but I was just he wanted to get his thoughts in on Spider-Man. So anyway, Craven kidnaps Harry, mistaking Harry as Spider-Man because they were wearing the same aftershave, and Osborn ends up coming up, and it basically confirms that Osborn does not remember being the Green Goblin. And when Spider-Man gets back to his apartment, Gwen is waiting for him. Uh, Flash to the present, Peter is in his attic telling Gwen he married MJ and how MJ changed after her death as well. MJ enters and Peter and MJ exchange a sweet yet gut wrenching 2 pages. It's honestly like one of the. I find it an odd dynamic again. That group of friends had such a strange way of dealing with each other. The way the four of them, Harry, Spider Man, and Harry, Peter, Gwen Stacy, and MJ all kind of had this like love rectangle trying to figure things out. And uh, the last line that MJ gives him is just absolutely heartbreaking. But it validates everything that Peter is doing, which I guess is the point in the end is that they all lost a loved one, and she has a permanent impact on all of their lives. And this is just maybe call it 10 years down the road, and Peter is still dealing with the grief and the loss. Um, Overall, this is a Spidey story with amazing, amazing art and splash pages, and with some of the brightest colors you will ever see. In its contrast, is a human hero dealing with grief years after the loss of a loved one, and dealing with grief in much of the same way that you would see someone that you know or you yourself would be dealing with it. And it's an incredibly human story, even though they use some of the most inhuman villains like the Lizard, Craven the Hunter, Green Goblin, and the two Vultures. Like it's just again, it was such a balancing act for them to take this book and have it be this horribly blue story, pun totally intended, and yet make it bright and fun as we're retelling the past. Look, if you haven't figured it out yet, let me just make myself perfectly clear. This is a what are you doing? Maybe not appropriate for the youngest of readers out there, but absolutely a top tier Spider-Man story. It is a top tier Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale story. I love this book, and if you have not read it yet, what are you doing? Until next time, guys, get out there and save the world, you bunch of heroes.